Now, looking back today, here's the mistake that I made with Empower Auto. There were actually two mistakes that I made, and I didn't realize it at the time, but today I have the perspective on it. And the mistakes that I made were, the first one is this, that I had built software that really second-guessed people's judgments. You know, these are men and women in dealerships making decisions based on their gut instinct, feel, experience, and they're getting paid to do this. And here I was with this software that was basically saying their decision, you know, scored them a D. I mean, can you imagine downloading an application from the internet onto your, you know, smartphone that judged your decisions that you made every day? You know, whether you got out of bed in the morning on time, it gave you a grade. Whether you decided to go to class or work or blow it off, gave you a grade. What you ate for breakfast gave you a grade. I mean, you just imagine how aggravating that would be, right? Because, you know, not all of our decisions are the best decisions. You'd probably wipe that application off your phone right away. Well, this was essentially the same thing I was doing with these guys. They get paid to use their expertise and judgment to make these decisions about values of used cars, and here I was, some blind dude, you know, with this software telling them their decisions in many cases were wrong. So I was criticizing subjective decisions that people were making, and no one really wanted that, and you could sort of appreciate why they wanted it. I couldn't understand it at the time, but today it's really clear. And then the second, you know, wrong, and this goes exactly to what Gordon said in his opening remarks, is let me assure you of this. Even if you're right, being too early is exactly like being wrong. Absolutely like being wrong. So I was right, as it turns out, that these guys needed, you know, to do something different, okay, if they were going to succeed in that internet environment, but they weren't ready to make that transition. You know, yeah, they sort of understood that the internet was coming along, but for crying out loud, you know, this was a phenomenon maybe of a year at most or two, and this business has been around for 100 years, and they've been in it probably for 20 or 30 years, so they're not ready to acknowledge and to accept that that was going to be their real, you know, their new reality. So, you know, I was there with the right idea really too early.
It's obviously always a delicate situation to tell somebody or point out to somebody that they're wrong. And I think there are tactful ways of doing it. You know, perhaps you could, instead of telling them that they're wrong, tell them that there's a better way to do it than the way that they're doing it. Or perhaps yet another way is to communicate with them through an anecdote or a story about a third party. Perhaps I could tell you about somebody else who is in a similar situation, similar circumstances to yours, and they're having success, and let me tell you about how they're doing it differently. I think those are perhaps, you know, alternative means to just coming out and saying, I think you're doing it wrong. But of course, you know, there are some instances and some relationships where that's okay and it's most direct. But I think the art of changing people's mindset is to really, you know, understand their sensitivities and understand their circumstances and who your audience is.